Lindsay Hanson from Head, Heart and Brain. Today she's going to talk to us about employee engagement and neuroscience. I'm not going to bother with my introduction because I'm conscious that now we've sort of wasted about 5 minutes on that introduction there. So I'm going to pass you over to Lindsay, who's going to talk to you about that. I'll speak to you after the event and let you know what's happening and what's coming up. If you want to follow Twitter, it's #SBWChat, and we do update the LinkedIn company group every single week with the slides and the recordings from this. I will record this webinar, and so that you can maybe look at the recording afterwards and share it with your colleagues. So, thank you for joining us, Lindsay. Thank you, everybody, and over to you, Lindsay.
Thank you. So, hello, everybody. What I wanted to do in terms of starting today, in terms of my talk, was just to introduce a little bit about me and the company that I work for. So I work for a company called Head, Heart and Brain, and we're a leadership development consultancy. Now, you're probably thinking that the name's a little bit odd. We prefer to say that it's a little bit quirky, but we believe that it kind of describes how we work with our clients. So we work with the rational content, and that's the head piece. We work at the emotional level, and that's the heart. And I guess in more recent years, we've started to work with latest findings in neuroscience, and that's the brain piece. The company's quite young, so we're just over a year old, and it really was born out of our interest in the sciences, so neuroscience and some of the other sciences, behavioural economics and psychology. And what we found when working with clients is through having a kind of an evidence base to explain some of the softer skills, it helps leaders and employees kind of connect with what we're working on. And actually last week I was at the CIPD L&D conference, so I don't know whether any of you got to attend the conference, but really neuroscience was a real hot topic and a new trend that's kind of really was quite popular at the conference. So I'm hoping through my talk today I can kind of pique your interest if you're not already kind of familiar with some of the ideas. And then just a little bit about me in terms of my background. I spent probably about 12 years in corporate HR, in financial services organisations, so investment banking, and then for the last 10 years I've worked as a consultant with various different consultancies. So that's just a little bit about me and a bit about the organisation I work for. But before I start my talk for proper, I did want to kind of say that I'm not a neuroscientist, so just wanted to put that out there. I wish I was, because I find the topic really interesting, but I'm not a neuroscience scientist. But we've been interested in the topic probably for about 4 or 5 years, and we follow very closely some of the research that's coming out of the scientific world. And I guess what we aim to do is try and make it more practical for the work that we do with clients. So that's a little bit about me. What I would like to cover in my talk is 4 areas, really. So I wanted to start very quickly by just giving a definition of engagement, what it means, and really more importantly, I guess, why it matters. I want to talk about some of the drivers of employee engagement, and then I want to talk about 3 neuroscience principles that I think are relevant to employee engagement. And I'm hoping that will kind of give you a different perspective in terms of how you think about employee engagement in your organisation. And then lastly, I want to talk about the impact of the line manager's role in employee engagement. And I'm hoping that the importance of this will become apparent as I go through my talk. I'm going to try and whiz through the first 2 pieces and spend most of my time talking about the neuroscience and the last piece. So, but I just wanted to kind of cover those things just to give you some context. So, what do we mean by employee engagement? So there are lots and lots of definitions of what this means, but the one that I particularly like is one that's provided by the Conference Board. I don't know whether you're familiar with that organisation. They're a not-for-profit research organisation based in the States, and I'm going to refer to them a couple of times because they basically, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, looked at all of the research studies on employee engagement and collated them into one big study. So organisations like Blessing White, Towers Perrin, Corporate Leadership Council, they brought together studies that they'd done to really produce one comprehensive study on employment engagement. So if that's an area of interest, I would thoroughly recommend that study. But the definition that they give is employee engagement is a heightened emotional connection felt by the employee for the organisation, which drives more discretionary effort. And the piece that I particularly like is this idea that it's an emotional connection that's felt by the employee. And through that, basically, their employees are much more likely to, work better and work smarter.